Welcome, everybody, to another week of Embracing the Suck interview. We're talking about resilience. I have with us here today Mike Gomita from Misericordia University. For those of you who are unfamiliar, yes, I did say Misericordia University. It is a real university. It's actually where I went to school. It is located in Dallas, Pennsylvania. The pause is intentional. You probably didn't know, unless you are a fellow alum like myself, that Misericordia exists. Maybe you did. I hope you do. If you don't, now you know. And we're here today to talk about resilience. I will give you a quick intro of Mike and then let him tell you all a little bit about himself as well. So Mike graduated from Misericordia University as well. He now works there as their assistant director of alumni engagement. Did I get that correct? Wonderful, right? He just got that promotion life. He's responsible for all sorts of things, from social media to a lot of their engagement that they're doing, events. Mike and I have worked together on past videos. He helped to produce a series of 10 different leadership videos for their alumni. And he did that with me, which was a pretty cool experience. So he's usually on the opposite side of the camera interviewing people like me. And I'm really appreciative that he let me take the time to interview him today. And we're going to talk about some of the things that they're doing at Misericordia to adjust due to COVID, some of the things that they've done to be resilient, and just some tips and tricks for all of us in higher education and for students right now, because right, 2020 is a dumpster fire. Let's just call it what it is. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself, some of the things you guys got going on at Misericordia.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nick, for having me. It's nice to reconnect with one of our proud alums of the institution, and really liking the series so far. And like I said, it's kind of nice sitting back in the chair as far as me being able to be in the hot seat for once. But I like how you started with the more so tactical ideas that I do as far as my job, but really in my job, I find meaningful ways that our alumni can engage with Misericordia University with some of the things, whether that's social media, through our Facebook, our YouTube, our Twitter, our Instagram. Some people absolutely love checking back in with the campus. For some reason too, in my findings, they absolutely love the weather that's on campus too. So anytime the first day of snow comes around, we are flooding with engagement, but I feel like that's higher education across all social media channels. But and more so ideally too, it's finding ways that our alumni can certainly give back in the ways that they are able to. So whether that's financially, I know that's kind of the big thing, and it's kind of a turn of the cheek when it comes to some of our alum when they hear financially, but that's one of the most direct ways that you can support our students. But also too, in many ways, like Nick yourself, doing the leadership video series with us, that is certainly another way that our students can benefit from it, is your time and talent. So for me as engagement, that's kind of my day-to-day basis. But as far as the things that I do, the best thing is never a regular 9-to-5 job that happens with me every day. As I'm sure as people saw on Nick's social media, I was filming Santa Claus yesterday, and I'm sure we're probably going to be talking about that. But you know, in other cases. Go ahead.
Can you tell us what that was? What were you doing? It's October. What are you like? I never know what this man is doing. I see the stuff he puts on their social media, and I think, what are they doing today? Like, what is happening? So yeah. What was that? Can you tell us?
Absolutely. So as far as like COVID and whatnot, with our virtual events, so we have postponed all of our in-person events until obviously COVID-19 has subsided, which obviously for those who are watching, hopefully everyone and their families are doing well and their friends are staying safe. But ideally what we still want to do is we want to engage with our alumni, and virtual events have been the way to go. I probably will be on my soapbox for a little bit when we talk a little bit more about that. But as far as the Santa is actually our December event. So our a little bit of teaser here for anybody who's listening and watching that's an alum. December we'll be hosting our university advancement team in reading "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," and then of course Santa will be the main event per se, or the lead performer in our virtual event and our video. So a little bit exciting. not really the person that celebrates Christmas this early. However, we know with how 2020 has been going, we got to do it when we got to do it. And yesterday was just the day to get old St. Nick up on campus. So
I love that. I love that you all are planning in advance, right? Like, obviously, we don't know what 2020 will hold the rest of the way, but you've adjusted and you've taken the time to plan. One of the things that I think is really cool that you said, when we talk a lot about resilience and like when things go wrong, and let's be honest, like, it's stressful. I call a spade. It sucks that you can't do in-person events, but you all completely adjusted for homecoming, and you offered a full schedule of things. I participated in some of them myself, and it was wonderful to connect with some alums. But one of the things that you said that I want to highlight, and I think this is important for people to pick up on, is the importance of giving back. You know, when things go poorly for ourselves, one of the best things we can do, and students can do this themselves, alum, adults, any of us can do this. When things go poorly, I think it's so important that we then provide service to others, right? You know, when you give back, when you provide service to someone else, I mean, you know this yourself from your own experience, you feel good, right? And you think less about all of the things that are going so poor for yourself, and then hopefully someone can also do that same thing for you. So I love that you highlight that. Right now, more than ever, I would suggest anyone who is, you know, struggling, if you have the ability to give some way, somehow, whether it's to your alma mater, to another student, to whoever, I think that's a wonderful thing to do. So I appreciate that y'all are doing that. It's pretty cool.
Nick, you have no idea during the early on stages of the pandemic, how many phone calls and FaceTimes I received on how do we set up Zoom? How do we connect the camera to this? How do we go live on Facebook? There was so many times where individuals were struggling. And, you know, in most cases, we always want to find that not return to the favor, but the return on investment. And in obviously most cases it's, you know, a paycheck. But in those times when it's super simple, I mean, it's really much so a phone call. And Nick, I know you and I have been on phone calls before, and certainly we certainly learn from each other. No one is ever, it's like a relationship. It's like 50-50. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the really cool things too about the way that people can be resilient, and as they, you know, experience these tough times, is that, like, and it's cheesy, people say it all the time, like, we're all in this together. I don't know that we're necessarily all in it together as much as we all should, or we should all hope to find someone who can be in it with us, right? Like, we talk a lot about the importance of serving with people and being with people. You know, one of my kids' books in their rooms, I read it on a keynote last week. It's just crazy. I read a kid's book on a keynote, but it's called The Rabbit Listen. And it's about this little rabbit that just like shows up and it's just there with people. And the fact that you're there to, like, and you've done it for me too, right? Like, the reason that I'm able to do some of the things I do is because I have people like Mike to say, hey, can you help me with this? Like, I got a question. And, you know, and people have done the same thing for me. So that's really cool. Hey, talk to me real quick. I want to know, how are things going with staff? And staff, for those of you, we're not talking about staff on their campus. Staff is Students Today, Alumni Forever. Tell people what that is. I think it's a really cool idea, an organization and an initiative you're doing. But tell people how that's going. What's happening with that?
Sure. No, thank you so much for bringing that up. With staff, it's STAF. In most cases, it's very confusing when it comes to meetings because I'm like, wait, like staff like us or staff like Students Today, Alumni Forever? So I'm glad you designated the difference between that. But what Students Today, Alumni Forever is, or staff, is a student philanthropy group on campus that consists of about over 50 students that looks to educate, engage, and excite the current students about philanthropy on campus. Now, within the philanthropy itself, philanthropy may seem like a daunting word, but as we've been discussing, Nick, it's the importance of giving back in any way that you can. Philanthropy is kind of that nice umbrella that we discuss as far as the ways in giving back. But what the students do is they are educated on the fact that not everything on campus would be possible without tuition alone, and the importance of saying thank you, and the importance of showing your appreciation and support support towards any support that is given, whether that's through you, Nick, through our videos, or through somebody who financially contributes to the institution. With these students itself, it was an interesting semester, of course, as always. Universities and colleges across the United States and through the world are obviously having these challenges. And my favorite dirty word of all is the word pivot. So certainly with pivoting and the resilience of that, you know, having those ideas and events and trying to see what we can do as far as putting them together. With our staff itself, we usually run a monthly event. And of course, we complement that with some other things that happen throughout the month. With that inclusivity, it became a challenge because a lot of the stuff that we've done, such as, you know, events that are on campus. Nick, I know you and I probably participated in the Halloween dance way back when, but, you know, something, something like that is certainly, hey, man, how are you?
Come and say hello to everyone.
Hi.
All right, well, you go sit down. We're live on Facebook right now. Look, this is the way the world works today, right? This is not the first time that he has photobombed something that you've been in with me. Last time we were filming videos, he did that.
Yep, I feel like it's a little magic between them, but you know, kind of getting back to the events itself, our students were trying to find ways that they can engage with the campus community. In most cases, what we usually would do in October is work with our homeless shelters that are across the area and doing what's called Socktober. So we donate socks to the homeless shelters. So in the past, we've collectively in the past couple of years, we've done this event. I think we've donated over 1,000 pairs of socks. But this year the students wanted to find something closer to home. And what they've done was they hosted a 21st century fundraising drive, also known as a Venmo drive, in which the students at any amount possible would be able to give to this pool of money and would be able to support and appreciate our frontline workers that are on campus. So from your housekeeping, your grounds, your facilities, your campus safety, all those people that keep the campus safe, healthy, clean, any way possible. Beautiful. I mean, Nick, you've been on campus. The grounds are the best. And if anybody is looking to come to Misericordia, I highly suggest you do it on campus visit. Not to do a plug there. Admissions is not really my thing. Alumni is, but if anybody's watching, but
hey, not a bad thing. Talk about a way to, you know, to give to others and to make those students feel good and feel, you know, a sense of purpose and value. You know, I think back to my own experiences and many students, right? When you graduate, you think back to your experience on your college campus, and I think the things that we remember are the times when we felt like we had a purpose, you know. And I think especially now in these trying times, the fact that you took what felt like was a great thing, right? And Socktober is wonderful. I love Socktober. Kid President, one of my, you know, personal heroes and mentors, right? Not that everyone has a 13-year-old who's their hero or mentor, but I do. You know, he does Socktober, and I love Socktober, but the fact that you even pivoted, right, to use your favorite word, to something that gives people even more purpose and meaning, and you know, that's so cool, and that I think that develops that resilience in your students, and that's not something everyone is doing. You know, I think we're all trying to pivot and adjust, but can you do something that is memorable? Can you create that experience for your students so they think back about that time? Because, you know, I remember even thinking back to who some of our custodial staff were and how wonderful they were, and our groundskeepers. And, you know, it's a tough time for everyone right now. You know, jobs are on the line, and the fact that they're willing to say, hey, we're going to use what we have, right? We're going to do a 21st century drive. Like the fact that they're doing it via Venmo is wonderful. And what student on a college campus doesn't have a Venmo that can say, hey, let me just drop you $5 real quick? And I'm sure that was more successful than, you know, the in-person, let's sit around and do a bake sale or old school fundraiser. So it's like the idea of meeting people where they are and doing something that's easy for them to do. It's like donating a meal swipe. Like that's easy for someone to do. How do you make it easy for people? So that's really, really cool.
I really appreciate that you mentioned about how easy it is and how simple it is. Certainly, the biggest is there Dunkin' down south, man? I'm like totally unaware. All right. Just want to make sure.
there's lots of people that came down here from Massachusetts. They like brought it in their back seat and just like popped it up like a tent. Like,
but anyway, let's look at it this way. How many of our individuals go out and grab a nice coffee before class? That's, what is it, 253? I know it's 253 because that's usually the order I get every Friday. But you do 2 of those, 2 days, take 2 days off, and that's $5. And then if 100 people donated $5, that's $500. That could supply somebody with books for students, whether a book or books for students, depending on their coursework. So I'm really happy that you pointed that out as far as the simplicity of things. But even so, with our employment, I think hate to forget to mention something about myself, because it's certainly not about me today. But this is honestly, this is
not about me, man.
Yeah, this is the first 10 months of my official first ever full-time job. If you told me 2 years ago that my first 10 months of my first official full-time job would be like this, I'd be like, dude, you're crazy. Mm-hmm. But right? It's been great, and I've certainly felt very fortunate with the talent and the skills that it's important to our alumni to keep in touch with the institution and to keep engaged. And having that opportunity to connect with some of our students through that way, as far as giving back to the community, it's certainly something that is well appreciated and well deserved for our frontline workers that are working on campus.
I love that. So how are you doing? 10 months into the first full-time gig. I know you did some graduate school and did your graduate assistantship there as well. But 10 months into it, how are you feeling right now? How are you doing?
I think what you did ask me one of the questions just to prepare myself for today, and I was about to type, and I'm like, great question. That's but really, ideally, Nick, I think the stress with any job itself has been certainly exceeded as far as any individual that is in a job, no matter if it's a postal carrier like my mother or somebody that's working in a more office management style job like myself. I think the biggest thing that I have learned myself is it is time to innovate and to basically step up. As far as anybody with a graduate assistantship, you really find that some of the times you're just downright working and you're downright studying. Whereas you're in a full-time position, Nick, this being in roles of yourself, sometimes you have to make the decisions that you don't necessarily want to make. But in other times too, you make the decisions you want to make. And then of course there's a politicking involved in all these crazy things. But as far as me, one of the biggest things that I remember my father talking to me about when some things were happening as far as keeping the quality education of Misericordia intact, when they were talking about some personnel, my father said to me, "Are you still healthy?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm healthy." And he goes, "That's all that matters, man." He's like, he said, "You'll find a job eventually. If something happens, you'll be okay. As long as you're healthy, man, that's all that matters." And I've been kind of taking that along the way. And, my dad sometimes comes up with the most craziest of things to say, but at the same time, too, he comes with very valuable advice. And I've taken that amongst everyone, not just myself, but to my students, to my colleagues, and to anyone else that's certainly struggling through this time, that the biggest thing right now is the health and safety of yourself and your loved ones. And, for me itself, I obviously would not been able to do the things that I'm doing now without my support group. And I know that's super important for everyone, is having that support group that can build that resiliency with everyone throughout, your day-to-day life. My parents are number one fans, but also too, my loving girlfriend, Jen, is my number one big fan, of course, too. So it's very nice to have that support group, Nick. And, amongst colleagues like yourself, it's nice to have that support as well.
For sure. I love that there's so many things you said there, Mike, that are just gold that, I think we all could work on, really, that perspective, and always finding a way to whether that's, somebody else helps you to find that perspective, or you take the time and figure it out for yourself, and, taking time to slow down and figure out, okay, what else is going on around me? What do I have, right? I have my health. I am safe, right? And looking at that is I think it's important to to find that perspective. And a lot of that perspective comes from you're right on, like that support group of people around you. You know, none of us are walking through this, you know, life and before 2020 and even now with everything going on, none of us are doing it alone. We've got to find people to be there with us. So I think that's key. I think that's really important to remember. Mike, everything you've shared today, telling us a little bit more about Misericordia University, to students today, alumni forever, you know, sharing even some of your own struggles. It's all been extremely helpful. It's been rewarding for me to spend 20 minutes with you here this afternoon. And I'm sure that everyone who's sitting here and watching it, or those that will go back and watch this afterwards, I hope that you'll take at least one thing away from this. You know, I would challenge everyone, if they did watch this, one of the key things that Mike said was showing that appreciation. You know, they did that for the frontline people at Misericordia University. But I would challenge, and I know I'll do this when I get off of this live with you, I'm going to sit down and write a thank you note to one person today. And if it doesn't have to be a thank you note, make a phone call, send a text message, just let someone know that you appreciate what they're doing for you in your life. I think we'd all benefit from that. It'd be nice to get one of those myself every once in a while, which I do. You know, I know people appreciate me, but I think that it would be wonderful if we could all do a little more of that. So with that, thank you, Mike. Any last advice that you have for the world?
Oh man, the world of Facebook. Wow. I think, Nick, I think you're absolutely right. The importance of gratitude, the importance of philanthropy is probably one of the biggest things to take away from today. But in my role itself, I think the biggest thing that also to take away, if we're looking for more a tactical approach, is don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to change your ideas. Don't be afraid to change your events. I think so many times we run into situations, especially in higher ed, that, well, that's not the way we used to do it. That is the number one bad word, a bad phrase of all time is, well, we used to do it this way. And even so too, we're here for the health and safety of everyone. Virtual events are becoming the next best and big thing for anybody itself. Nick, I'm sure you've reached so many horizons with some people and inspired so many people across, I don't even want to say the United States, but I want to say the world, because, you know, that's the guy that you are. But, you know, as far as myself, we've been really keeping in touch with some of our alumni that couldn't make it back to campus. So I think the biggest important thing is A, show that appreciation, but B, don't be afraid to innovate and change the way that you've been doing things. Because I'm going to tell you now, you're certainly going to get a great return on investment. And the other thing, if you say Zoom is not a thing that works, let me tell you, Nick and I were at an all Misericordia University alumni reunion. We had Liz Knoll, class of 1947. If Liz Knoll can go on a Zoom call, yes, you can too. That's my take.
Amen, man. You know, it was so cool to have Liz on there. When she said she was class of 47, I about fell out my chair. I was like, excuse me? Like 40, like graduated 47, not born in 47, class of 47. And she was on Zoom. Y'all, don't be afraid to change. I hope everyone has an awesome day. Thank you again, Mike. And we'll see y'all next week.
Thanks for having me, Nick.
You got it, man.